material in the next section of the book. You can find this in the online textbook on page 41 in your Inspire Science tile in Rapid Identity, or the actual textbook in the corners of the room, page 124. Okay. And so our question today is, how do eroded rocks become soil? So first thing I want you to know is weathered rock alone isn't soil. Soil is defined as the loose covering of weathered rock particles and decayed organic matter called humus. Not hummus, not the stuff you get at the grocery store and put on crackers. Humus, overlying the bedrock of Earth's surface. It serves as a medium, which is a place for the growth of plants. It is a product of thousands of years of weathering and biological activity. How does soil form? Weathered rocks break into smaller pieces. Worms and other organisms break it down. Organic matter, they add nutrients to the soil. They create passages for air and water. As the soil develops, it forms layers. The more layers, the more developed the soil becomes. You can see at the very bottom is the bedrock, then the weathered parent material, then you have what's called subsoil, topsoil, and at the very top is the organic layer. Organic means made of living things in this respect. Soil layers, if we take a look, residual soil is the soil whose parent material is the local bedrock. So if it hasn't been moved in any way, we call it residual soil. It's stuff that's located above what it is made out of. Whereas soil that's been moved from its bedrock, from where it was formed, is called transported soil. How can it move? Well, we know rivers, right? Also, glaciers, wind, all these things can move soil to another location, and that's called transported soil. Again, residual soil is the stuff that resides above the bedrock from which it's made. Transported soil is soil that came from somewhere else. I mentioned that soil has layers. If you dig a hole into the ground, you might see the layers. What you're going to see is what's called a soil profile. All right. And so, again, the bedrock above there is the parent material. That it just means it's from the bedrock itself. Then the subsoil is formed, surface soil, and then organic matter on top. The older the soil, the more distinct the layers tend to be. New soils might not have developed layers, and those are called undeveloped soils. Again, when we take a look at the layers, your book defines these, and so do geologists, as what are called horizons. Horizons are like layers, okay? So a soil horizon is a distinct layer in a soil profile. There are 4 types. The top one is the O. The O layer just means organic. Then we have the A, B, and C layer. And so the A layer is mostly weathered rock with some dark brown organic material. As you move down below, you end up getting more minerals and clay. And then below that is the broken down parent rock. Excuse me, I'm trying not to cough here. Factors that influence soil formation: climate, the most significant factor, right? We learned how climate can affect weathering and chemical weathering and so on. Topography, which is the slope of the land. Steep slopes have shallow soils, whereas valleys, that's where soil tends to accumulate, right? That's going to have deeper soils, more organic matter. So slopes that face the sun versus away from the sun, which one might have more vegetation? So which one, how does that affect erosion, if you remember that, right? So slopes facing the sun are going to have more vegetation, and so less erosion, and so more soil, if that makes sense. The parent material, the rock from which the soils originate, will influence what type of soil or how the soil is formed, just because it depends on the parent rock. Biological activity, that means living things. Plants, animals, fungi, bacteria, these all interact with the soil. They aerate the soil, they break down organic matter. There's something called, your book calls mollisols, which are prairie soils. These are rich in organic matter, very fertile soil. If you think of the prairies of the United States, this is where a lot of farming occurs. Whereas alpha soils are woodland soils. All right, a little bit different than in the prairies. Another factor that influences soil formation is time. Something called entisols, new soils, where little weathering occurs and there's no horizons, no layering in that. And then eutisols are old soils, which are made up of clay and minerals. So what type of soils are found in Minnesota? Here's a map of soils. And you can see some of those terms. Let me move this over a little bit. So Minnesota, we're located in Minnesota. Burnsville is right down in here somewhere, right? If you can see that, kind of a dark green mollisols, right? We have mollisols. The light green alpha sols. So what are those again? Let me see if I can go back here. Mollisols are prairie soils, so that's what we have around here, rich in organic matter. There's a lot of farms around this part of Minnesota. Even a town called Farmington, farming town, and some woodland soils around here in some of the forested areas. Soil texture. Particles of soil are classified according to their size. Clay, silt, or sand, with sand being the largest. Clay is very small. Silt is very small as well. Sand. And so we can take take a look at the relative proportions of these to determine what the texture is. So sandy clay, so on, something called loam that we'll learn about. Silt is very fine particles, clay, and so on. Soil fertility. This is how well soil supports plant growth. Factors include topography, the shape of the land, the nutrients in the soil, what microorganisms are present, the amount of precipitation, the acidity, how acid or alkali the soil is. Excuse me. Farmers add fertilizer to soils in order to enhance their fertility, right? Cow manure, things like that are spread onto farms in order to increase the nutrients. Soil color is determined by its mineral composition, amount of organic matter, and moisture content. O and A horizon soils are usually dark because they have more organic matter. So I'm going to have you do the smart book assignment. Some of you did it already. I noticed I actually put it in Schoology a while back thinking we were going to do it earlier than we did. But this is going to be due. I think I have it due. Let's just have it due the end of this week. That would be fine. But go ahead and get on Schoology, or I'm sorry, onto your online textbook and do the smart book assignment. I'll show you where it is here. If you're going to want to go to on Rapid Identity, find your Inspire Science tile, and right here, Smart Book Soil. I know I put due 11:30. That was because I wasn't sure when we were going to get to it. So I'm going to change that now to somewhere toward the end of this week. Go ahead and get your smart book done. Let's just have it due on Friday. And then here's your, if you can find this on there as well, it's your online textbook. Again, I'll be done here soon, but I just want to remind you that if you're going to your online textbook, that's going to start on page 41 of the online textbook. But when you go to the smart book, it gets you there anyway. Okay, if there are no other questions, go ahead and start your smart book assignment. Okay, good luck.